The sound of a 90-pound Australian shepherd knocking a toddler to the floor is unmistakable. Rachel heard it from the kitchen, that heavy, dull thud that makes every parent's blood stop. She dropped the dish towel and ran. Bear had Ava pinned. The toddler was flat on the carpet, face up, the dog's massive head lowered directly over the child's face. Ava was crying. Not screaming, just that confused, frightened cry that meant something hurt, but nothing was broken yet. "Bear! No!" Rachel grabbed the dog's collar and pulled hard. Bear resisted. For the first time since they'd brought him home 3 years ago, he didn't obey immediately. His body was rigid. His eyes stayed locked on Ava. She pulled harder. The dog finally stepped back, but slowly, reluctantly. Ava sat up, tears streaming, reaching for Rachel. No visible injuries. No blood. Just scared. But that sound, that thud, that had been real. She scooped Ava up and carried the toddler to the couch, heart still racing. Bear stood exactly where she'd pulled him, staring at them both. His tail wasn't wagging. His ears were forward. Alert. Not guilty. Not ashamed. Just watching. When Mike got home that evening, Rachel was still shaken. She explained what happened. The sound, the way Bear had Ava on the floor, the way he wouldn't move when she called him. Mike knelt down and checked Ava carefully. No bruises, no bumps. The toddler was already playing again, completely fine. But Rachel wasn't fine. "He's never done anything like that," Mike said. "I know. That's what scares me." Mike looked at Bear. The dog sat in the corner of the living room, eyes moving between Mike and Ava, calm, steady. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe Ava startled him. Rachel shook her head. It didn't feel like an accident. It felt deliberate. That night, they kept Bear in the laundry room while Ava slept. It felt wrong. He'd never been locked away before, but Rachel couldn't shake the image of that moment. The weight of the dog on top of their child. The next morning, it happened again. Rachel was changing Ava's diaper when Bear came into the nursery. He walked directly to the changing table and pressed his nose against Ava's face, not sniffing. Pressing. Bear, back, now. Still nothing. She physically pushed him away. He took 2 steps back, then immediately moved forward again, nose going straight to Ava's mouth. Rachel's patience snapped. "Out!" Now Bear finally left, but only after she raised her voice to a level that made Ava start crying. That afternoon, Rachel called the vet. The vet listened carefully, asked questions. How old was Bear? Had there been any other behavior changes? Any aggression toward other people? No, just Ava. The vet was quiet for a moment, then said, "It might be stress. Sometimes dogs react unpredictably when there's a baby in the house, especially if they were used to being the center of attention." Rachel thanked her and hung up. By that evening, she'd made the decision. Bear couldn't stay. Mike didn't want to believe it. He'd raised Bear from a puppy, trained him, trusted him, but he'd also seen the fear in Rachel's face. He'd heard the description of that moment, the dog on top of their child, refusing to move. They agreed to call a rescue organization in the morning. That night, Bear slept in the garage. Rachel lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. She felt guilty. She felt scared. She felt like she was betraying a family member. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw Bear's head hovering over Ava's face and her chest tightened. At 2:47 a.m., the baby monitor lit up. Ava was crying, not the usual fussy cry. Something else. A strange, weak sound. Rachel sat up immediately and grabbed her phone. The video feed showed Ava in the crib, barely moving. She ran. Mike was right behind her. When they opened the nursery door, Bear was already inside. He'd somehow gotten out of the garage, somehow made it through the house, somehow opened the nursery door, or it hadn't latched. He was standing on his back legs, front paws on the crib rail, nose pressed against Ava's face. "Bear, get back!" Mike grabbed the dog and pulled him away. Rachel reached into the crib and lifted Ava. The toddler's skin was pale, cold. The crying had stopped. "Something's wrong." The paramedics arrived in 6 minutes. One of them took Ava from Rachel's arms, checked vitals, asked rapid-fire questions. "When did this start? Any fever? Any vomiting? Any known allergies?" The second paramedic noticed Bear. He was standing in the hallway completely still, eyes fixed on Ava. Has the dog been acting strange? Rachel nodded, barely able to speak. Yes. For 2 days, then looked at Rachel. We need to get to the hospital now. At the ER, a doctor examined Ava thoroughly. Blood tests, monitoring, questions. Then she came back into the room with a printout and a very serious expression. Your daughter's throat tissue was already beginning to swell. The doctor continued, her voice calm but firm. Another 6 minutes, and we would be having a very different conversation. She looked at both parents. What made you bring Aher in tonight? The pale skin. The doctor nodded slowly. And the dog? Rachel looked at Mike. He looked back at her. He wouldn't leave Ava alone, Rachel said quietly. For 2 days, we thought he was being aggressive. Dogs can detect allergic reaction before we can. It's documented. The change in scent, in breath chemistry, they pick it up long before symptoms are visible to us. Rachel sat down. Bear knew. The doctor nodded. He was trying to tell you. When they brought Ava home 3 days later, Bear was waiting by the door. Rachel knelt down and put her arms around his neck. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. Bear exhaled slowly, leaning into her. That night, Ava slept in the crib. Bear slept on the floor beside it. No one asked him to. He just did.